Joseph started his multifamily journey about 9 months ago now, maybe 10 months ago, and he had no idea what even like what was a T12, what was a rent roll. He had no idea at all. Like he didn't know anything about underwriting. Till the freaking underwriting legend that he is now. I mean, what a freaking transformation, bro. It's so amazing to see how you went from literally 0 to 100 in quite literally too with our multifamily. 100.
Quite literally, yeah, yeah. 0 to 100 units.
Yeah, and now like you're like teaching people how to underwrite, taking your experiences and all these strategies that you're implementing in underwriting. Freaking amazing, bro. Can't say enough good things. Your transformation has been amazing. Thank you for being here, sharing the underwriting with everyone here, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm just happy to be here, bro. You already know. It's super exciting, just looking back, man, just everything that we've gone through. It's crazy how it's led up to where we are now. I mean, part of the team is in here with us. Like, I'm just super excited for everything that we're doing and what we are accomplishing and what I know that we can accomplish. So I'm just ecstatic, honestly. I a loss for further words. I'm just ecstatic. Is a really, really cool. But if you want to control the PowerPoint, I'm ready on my end with the surprise and the tools with the surprise.
Okay, sounds good.
Got some stuff here.
No, you're good, bro. Let me go over a few slides. We always go through who we are, right? Because everyone in here, for the most part, knows who we are. But if you don't, we are the $1 Million Upside team. On the left-hand side, that's me, Oscar, right? And Ione. Both of us are a couple. We're also partners in the business and what we do. And so for me specifically, I'm the visionary of the couple. So I do all the upfront stuff. If particularly in multifamily, I do all the deal structure and handle the investor relations. And then Ione, she's the integrator. She's what you guys don't ever see. She's probably like a myth to a lot of you guys. You guys never see her, but they always talk about her, right? She's the integrator, right? She's in the background. She's lurking. She's always providing new value. She's underwriting and she's doing a lot of asset management on the multifamily side and always seeking to get better. I cannot say enough good things about Ione, that she's always looking to grow and learn and add more value to you guys. So a lot of the things that you guys will see today is a product of her adding value to this community. So I can't wait till we get to that part. And on the right hand side, we've got
I
KJ.
was just gonna say, literally every time I talk to Ione, I learn something new. So like, I'm just everything you said times 100, bro. She's awesome.
Yeah, even I learn a bunch of stuff from her, dude. I'm here with her all the time. So on the right hand side, we got KJ and Joseph, obviously a married couple, awesome power couple with us doing this multifamily stuff together. KJ is the visionary of the couple. She's like me. She's doing the outreach. She's handling the investor relations. And then Joseph is the integrator. And I say this every single time. It's more like an integrator slash visionary because he's also doing stuff in the front when he needs to. And he's an amazing underwriter and is handling the asset management as well. So I think these roles will eventually change as we keep progressing because they have been a little bit right now. And so for the moment, that's what we handle, but it's definitely gonna there's a lot more to that than what you guys see for sure.
It's the evolution.
Exactly. All right, guys, rules and expectations. We go through this every single time. I'm just going to go through it again really quickly with you guys. The first one is that this is a series of how we go from finding a deal, everything in between, and what it takes to close it, take it all the way to the closing table. So this is what this series is about. This series is also based on our business model and experiences. So, guys, we understand that there's so many other ways you can do a deal. Every market is different. And we always encourage everyone to do their own due diligence every single time. And we're also going to ask you guys to please hold your questions until the Q&A at the end when we'll start to answer any questions and everything multifamily. And of course, network with each other, which I have been seeing right now in the chat. You guys are doing amazing. Network with each other and do deals together. This is why we're creating this community so that you guys can get to know each other, do whatever you need to do. Your future partner could be in this chat or it could be in the community. So guys, network with each other. Also want to talk about our why and our mission. And again, I went through this in the past too, but I really think it's important for us to know, for you guys to know why we're doing this, because the reason is because we want to give back to the community. We want to give back to you guys, but we also want to keep providing that experiences and value to you guys, because I mention this every single time, but we've spent a lot of money learning this stuff. And some of the stuff that we've learned, we've had to learn the hard way. And we wish someone would have taught us, right? We wish someone would have been there with us. We had no experience starting off, and we had no idea what we were doing starting at the beginning. Like, this is all trial and error. And Joseph can attest to this. Like, there's so many times that we were freaking felt like we went through the ringer, right, Joseph? We got beat up so many times, and we had no idea what was going on, and we had to learn so many things the hard way. So we're doing these Zooms so that not only can we teach you guys or hopefully equip you with the right resources, and so you guys can do your own deals, but we're also doing it because we wish someone was there for us, teaching all these stuff to us when we started off, because we had no idea what we were doing. And I'll say this, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Our mission is so that you guys can go do your first deal, whether it's with us or someone else. You do your first deal, and then along the journey, when you guys have done 2 or 3 under your belt, you can go and pull someone up who hasn't done a deal yet and help them get their first deal. And hopefully that cycle will rinse and repeat. That's our mission. That's our reason why we're doing this, is so that we can help someone do their first deal. They are well equipped. They can do a deal by their own now, and they can go and pull someone up who hasn't done a deal. And that process keeps rinsing and repeating. So that's the reason why we do this, guys.
Bro, I love that little graphic. I've seen this like 3 times now, probably even more than that. And I'm just now noticing that little graphic. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a perfect representation of what we're doing.
It really is.
Yeah. All right, guys, we got to get some fires in the chat, man. Are you guys ready?
Hell yeah. Fire's coming at you right now.
Thanks, bro.
I got you, dude. You gotta support the homies.
All right, let's get into it, guys. We're gonna go over a few things on an overview of what we went through on part 1, part 2, and then the things that we're gonna go into for part 3, which is this one, underwriting. So the things that we touched on part 1 were ways to find multifamily deals that we do. And one of them was, it's just an overview. We do agent or broker outreach. Another way that we do is direct to owner or direct to seller, so owner outreach. And then obviously property listings that are on market is another method that we find opportunities. We also talk about getting known, because the more people know about what you're doing, the more visibility you have, and then people will bring you deals, or you can get involved in someone else's deal by talking about what you do and getting known by other people. And then also connect with others in real estate in the same profession that you're doing. So that's why we're saying it's important for you guys to network with each other, whether it's in the chat or in the community, in the Facebook group, or in other communities, just so that you guys can network and connect, and also find other opportunities for you guys to pursue. So that's an overview of what we covered in part 1. And then this is going to be an overview of what we covered in part 2, which is the market analysis, which ties into what we're going to talk about today. Because if you have not done the market analysis, then we recommend that you do that in order for you to ensure that you guys are in the right markets, right? So last week we covered the 5 metrics that we look at, and that's based off of Neil Bawa's model, right? And a lot of you guys know who Neil Bawa is after the last presentation. But the 5 metrics are population growth, the median household income, the median house/condo value, the change in crime levels, and the 12-month job growth percentage for those specific markets. So whatever market you're looking at, if all these check out, then you have a great market, and you should definitely look into that market a little bit more. There's a lot of pockets out there, different markets that people overlook because they just don't know these metrics. Knowing these metrics can open up your eyes to different markets that other people are not looking at. So I would recommend that you guys understand the market analysis, and get going. Or also, Joseph, I'm going to tell your story, bro. The deal that you loved in the small town in Texas, Class A. Joseph had felt he'd fallen in love with that deal. The numbers checked out, but the minute we did a market analysis, all out the window. Right. So how important is it, Joseph, to do your market analysis?
Super important, man, because we would have saved so much time. And actually, the Carrie is in here. She's the one that helped us do the market analysis on that deal. So shout out to Carrie for potentially saving us from something that might not have turned out so well. So that was a learning experience, and ever since that, we went heavy into figuring out which markets we do and don't want to be into and what we should be looking for. And that's how we've come to these metrics here, which was a brainchild from Neil Bawal with the guidance of multiple different people leading us to this outcome. So I'm super excited for now that we have these metrics. We know exactly what we should and shouldn't go for, and we know what deals that we're looking for. Everything, the further we get into this process, the more concise everything becomes. And, to some people are like, well, that's less deals that you're looking at. Well, no, it's actually, I'm focusing on the deals that I actually want. And so only those deals are coming to me. So I'm recognizing more of those opportunities. So I'm just happy to be here.
And another note, yeah, you mentioned, if it wasn't for you, Carrie, shout out to you. I know you're in the chat. You were the one who opened up our eyes to the market analysis. Guys, that's why it's so important for you guys to network in the chat, because she sat down, took the time, and ran through those metrics with us and told us her sources, and that was Neil Bawa. And after that, we just took off and started looking and really diving deep into the market analysis. So Carrie, thank you so much for taking the time and helping us out with those deals. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. So this is another thing that we covered in part 2, the financials required to underwrite. A lot of you guys already know this. We've done so many Zooms on underwriting and what to look for, what to ask for, and how to dive deep into some of the financials. But the ones that you need, right? And this is not a requirement like the offering memorandum. If you have it, cool. If not, no worries. Take it for what it is. We've talked about a lot of this on the offering memorandum or the OM. The second document that is crucial, you do need the T12, and Joseph will touch up a little bit more on that. And then the rent roll. So if you have these 3 documents, you essentially have the financials required, assuming that they're actually good and they're current, right? So with those caveats there. And also questions we like to ask, when we're sourcing deals or talking to a broker or seller, is there an assumable loan is one of the things that we like to ask for. Are they open to seller financing? And there's a lot more questions that we ask, but just at a higher level, what's the whisper price? Because we want to know what price point they're looking at, or what everybody else is putting it under, or, offering at, so that we have an idea of what to do. Right. So these are questions that we also ask alongside with a bunch of other ones. And that was covered in part 2, by the way. And then here's some of the things that we look at for this specific Zoom that we're going to be talking about. And Joseph, you might want to add a few more if I forget, because I was pretty late last night when I was putting these slides together. So I kind of had a brain fart, but a couple of the loan metrics, or I'm sorry, underwriting metrics that we look at are the cash on cash return, right? We definitely want to see what those returns are going to look like, especially because we take the LPGP model or syndication model. So we want to know and make sure that those investors are taken care of when we look at these metrics. And also the exit strategy, right, is probably one of the more important things as well. I would argue it is one of the most important things, because you need to know what the exit strategy is going to be for that particular property, right? If it's a Class A, that could be a completely different exit strategy than a Class C. So, you got to know what that exit strategy will be. And then also why we're called $1 million upside, because we always talked about upside when we first started, right? Like, what's the upside on the deal? Like, for us, our golden rule was we don't do deals that don't have $1 million in upside, right? So what does that mean? That means that whenever it is all said and done, what do the net proceeds look like? And is it $1 million or more, right? And so that's why we were coined by you guys the $1 million upside team, because we always talked about the upside, right? So that's another metric that we look at the exit strategy. And then other metrics that we consider not going into the weeds of things, is the equity multiple, because again, we take the GPLP model for most of our underwriting, so the syndication model. And so we would like to see what that equity multiple is going to be for the duration of the hold, and also the total raise for the entire deal, right? So that's also another thing that we consider. And there's many strategies that Joseph and Ione do when they underwrite, and they get very creative with it. So other than that, Joseph, did you want to talk about any of these, or are you good with this?
No, I mean, we've kind of beaten these to death on so many different videos before. I think I don't want to spend too much time on it. Like Oscar said, there is multiple things that we look at when underwriting. These are just like the top priority that we do look at. We're also considering, how much work this property is going to be in comparison to all of these metrics. Like, is this something that where we can come in and just take it over and continue what's already in place? Or do we need to come in and do a total gut job on the property and almost rebuild it from scratch? Those that will change the metrics and what we're looking at, because it might be, let's say the exit strategy is this, everything's the same, all the metrics are all the same, and you're looking at one deal where you just take over and one deal where you have to do a lot of heavy lifting. Which one are you going to do, right? I'm going to do the one where I just kind of take over and get paid the same as if I was doing the heavy lifting. So there's a whole bunch of things that are factors in this. These are just the top few that we have. So no, I don't have anything further on that, and we've beaten these to death.
Awesome. Well, then the next part is the actual underwriting. So
Yeah.
if you are ready to take over, guys, or you, Joseph, it's time to underwrite. Guys, give us some fires in the chat if you're ready to see, because we've got something really, really exciting for you guys on this next part. Give us some fires in the chat if you guys are ready.
Oh, I'm ready.
Max had that on speed dial, bro. He was
Bro,
like,
he had those fires prepared. There's no way. He already had them ready. My guy. Okay. There we go. So give me 1 second and do a quick little share. All right, guys. So what I'm gonna share with you guys first is Ione's brainchild, and I want to kind of just go over it really quickly to show the things are, where we're looking at, and then we'll actually input a deal into here and do a quick little live demo. It's not going to be 100% perfect. I want to make sure that we don't waste anybody's time. There are multiple underwriting videos that we've put out there that go deep into all of this. We really just want to show you what we're looking for, what to understand, and how you can actually like input these things. Because I have spoken to some people that are working with, an analyzer that's not really the greatest. Or I saw one that only y'all might not believe this, but there was one analyzer that I was working with, and then it only showed the first year. It didn't go past year one. So I was like, how do you know what's gonna happen after year one? Like, like you need to know what your exit's gonna be and all these things. So like after seeing, and it wasn't just one analyzer. I've seen like multiple different ones like that. But I was just like so taken aback that there was one like that out there. So without further ado, I'm going to show you guys what Ione's been cooking up here, and then we'll get into it. All right, here we go. Boom. Y'all can see?
yep.
Okay. It's sharing the right screen, right?
Yeah, bro.
Okay, cool. So for those of y'all that are VIPs, you do already have access to a similar analyzer. But as you can see, if you look up here, this is version 2.0. So it is brand new and revamped. It's pretty nice, guys. So let's just go over the tabs real quick. You have your inputs, your income, your expenses, a summary of these three, your exit and returns, and then your monthly and annual cash flow, and then your IR and debt. So those are the tabs. You kind of just click through them, go through them. You have all the acquisition metrics here on the side. You'll input your purchase price. You have a price per unit, going in cap rate. All of this is very, very cool. And what we really like about it is the creative features. So I'm gonna kind of show you guys the creative features first, and then we're just gonna jump into it and see how we use those. So there's this right here off to the side. In addition to having not one, but not two, but three spots for loan metrics to put in three separate loans for a property. This could be, for example, the current debt, like we can assume the debt. This could be like a supplemental or mezzanine debt, and then boom, we have seller financing, or however, maybe two things of seller financing. You never know. The sky's the limit here. But what's really cool is that you can defer or even put no payments for some of these. So what we've come across in our underwriting is that, let's say that we want to structure this deal and the first year is just not good. Like the rents are just not high enough, and we need at least a year's time to get in there, renovate them, and then charge the higher rents that we know we can get, but we need the time to renovate. So now it gives us the opportunity to put that in here into our underwriting without having to manually calculate it, to where we can present that offer of, hey, we're going to do this, but the first year is going to be deferred payments, or we don't have to pay you until 12 months or whatever it is, right? So that is a super cool that I have not seen before on any other analyzers. Have pretty standard on the refinance loan metrics, sale. Oh, let me fix that. There we go. The sale information. And we're going to go through this, guys. I promise. I just want you to kind of see where everything is. Partnership information. So this whole page is all of the things that you would input. This is the stuff that you change, minus the income and expenses. Everything else that you change and adjust on your underwriting is all one page right here in front of you. All right, let's move on. We're going to go into this, guys. I promise. We'll get deep into it. So here's the income. It's got what the units are, and then you can have space to change it. You can put in the current units, the average, current, whatever. Then you have your pro formas, what you believe it's going to be according to what the market tells you and or what the OM tells you, right? Very simple, nothing crazy there. And you have all of your other income. This is a really cool piece here that allows you to start your renovations later, because sometimes when you take over property, you're not able to just get in there right away and just start doing renovations because it's fully occupied or whatever the situation may be. So this gives you the opportunity to push that further back and start it later. All right, this one, really cool piece. It allows you to not only just set the assumptions for these metrics, but it allows you to change them year by year by year by year, which is a really cool piece to add. And it does drastically affect one from making a small change, like just changing this from 2% to 4% would drastically increase the cash on cash for that year. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, I'm geeking out a little bit over it just because it's how maneuverable and flexible that this analyzer is. It's really cool. And then that just shows you a very high level of what these metrics would look like. So you can see it here in front of you, and it puts all of this together. All right. Expense, very similar. It's got your current and it's got your year one. And then the same thing here. You can change it year by year. Or if like, for example, that's why this one is here. For example, you're not going to have very many turnovers because you're just doing a lot of renovations. So there's nobody leaving the unit and somebody else coming in. That's a turnover. You're just doing renovations completely, and then somebody's joining or signing the lease. They're becoming a new tenant. So that your turnover won't be until year 2. So you can actually push this off until later on. So that gives you the flexibility to do that, and then change everything individually as well. So super cool. And then this one is highlighted because if you change this, like let's say we put that at 5%, it's going to change all of it for that one. So, I don't know, guys. If you guys aren't excited about this yet, like
I know, right? No, everybody's excited, dude. I've been seeing the chats, and I see Christy, I see Steven, I see everybody in there putting it in the chat that they are loving what they're seeing right now, guys. And you have no idea, like, oh, okay, a lot of you do have an idea, right? But a lot of us who don't use analyzers, don't know how amazing these little features make a difference in your analyzer. Just the creative aspect of it, of deferring payments or making no payments, I've never seen that in any other analyzer.
Yeah, same.
You'd have to go in there, do it manually, right? And so having that feature alone is freaking amazing. Anyway, keep going, bro.
Yeah, yeah. It is because I can't tell you how many times that I've tried to structure a deal like that, and then I have to go and manually calculate everything with my little calculator. And oh god, let me tell you, that's frustrating sometimes, especially when I forget my calculator and I have to do it on my phone. That sucks. It basically just makes me not want to work that day if that's what I have to do. Okay, expenses. It shows you everything with those with that growth, so you can see it right here in front of you and not have to go to the annual or monthly to see it big on the big screen. You can see it right here in front of you and how each of those changes affects it, so you can review it before you move on. Summary, pretty straightforward. It's just a summary of everything that we've covered so far, and it does give a little bit of the returns as well. But main thing that we like to use this for is this capital stack section. Again, it does give you a high level of everything, but this is one place that I like to go to see the total raise needed. All right, super important section here. You have your exit and returns. So you have your refinance section, everything about your refinancing, and you have everything about your selling, everything here. I believe it only goes up to 11 still. Let me confirm. Yep. So 11 is the max here. That should be good enough for most people. I think I've only underwritten a property past 11 one time, and that was a creative finance deal. So we weren't necessarily concerned. Here's your member cash flow and returns. So this is going to show everything for all of your investors. Those are your members. That's going to be all in this section. Then you have your manager cash flow and returns, and we favor this little box right here. This tells us how much over the entire period of the hold and everything. That's including the cash flow, the acquisition fee, the capital transaction fee, and the sell proceeds. Everything that this little box right here calculates the total. That's where we want to see a million, no matter what. If it's not a million, it's not a deal for us. And then you have an example, like if somebody this is super helpful during your capital raising calls. Whenever, let's say, someone wants to know if I put in 100K right now, how much am I going to make? Well, it's going to tell you, it's going to give you all the information that you would need to know right here. And this section is going to give them the total amount. When it's all said and done, this is going to be your returns. You're going to get your money back included in this. And we're going to go through it, guys. I promise. I know it says a bunch of errors right now, but I just wanted you to kind of see what it looks like. So I won't spend too much time on these last ones. This is everything broken up month by month. Super cool if you really want to get into the nitty gritty of it, or you really want to see where, let's say, year one is going to be hard. Well, I want to know exactly which months I'm going to be negative on or which months are going to be hard. So this section will show you month by month what's working, what's not working, or where you need to be concerned. Annual cash flow is going to show you the whole high level view of everything that we've covered. This is going to show you your business plan, so to speak, for the next X amount of years, whatever your exit strategy is. And it's going to show you everything. And then this little row right here is that cash on cash. So this is where you're going to see the average cash on cash for that year. And that's what we say we're looking for when our returns. These are the returns for the investors in regards to cash on cash. And then IRR and debt, very straightforward. I'm not going to spend any time on this. You honestly will probably never have to go through here unless you're manually changing things on the analyzer. And I don't recommend you do that until you really understand how everything functions. And it has all three debts. You can go and see specifically, like if I want to go look at year 11. Oh, here's a year 11. Or if I want to see month, whatever, 80 for that loan, boom, it'll show me exactly what it is. Okay, so now we've got that. You guys understand what we're working with, what we're looking at. Let's show you how it actually works now. Okay. Let me pull up my stuff. Okay. Let me move you guys out of the way a little bit. All right. So this is the deal we're going to underwrite. Very basic looking building. All right. Looks pretty good. It's a 2012/2015 build. And this is the OM, guys. For those of y'all that are new to underwriting or haven't been exposed to any of this before, this is an OM offering memorandum. We touched on it briefly in this presentation. There's lots of different ones, and some of them are much better than others. You just kind of get what you get. This is what your broker will prepare for you. And typically the seller's broker, they will prepare this as essentially a brochure of the property. It shows all the information, the highlights, and it has a bunch of different things. Here's a little table of contents of what this one will have: executive summary, property overview. Sorry, you guys probably can't see. There you go. Executive summary, property overview, financial analysis, rent comps, and market overview. This is very helpful whenever you're doing the underwriting, so you can understand what property you're looking at. It gives you a good picture, some of the stuff around you, how many units, again, that you're built, occupancy. One thing we do want to remind you guys is that a lot of this is fluff. Most of it's not super accurate, and you just want to trust but verify everything that you're pulling in, okay? So I just wanted you guys to see the property that we're going to underwrite here. It's over here in Laredo. Pretty standard building. And let's just kind of hop into it, right? So this is what the pictures look like. Okay, rent roll summary. So this is giving you, it looks like all of the units are 92. There's 92 units, average 800, 809 is the average. So it looks like all of the units are 2 ones of the same unit. That makes it easy for us, honestly. So here's an operating statement that the broker put together. Honestly, on this one, guys, I just ignore it completely every time. I don't look at this. I just want to see the T12. Because they'll give you things like this. They'll give you the pro formas, which sometimes can help, but a lot of times it's also not very accurate. So don't get misled by these things here, okay? All right, they're going to show us some comps, where they got their numbers. Obviously, we're going to do our due diligence, fact check all of this as we move forward. These are the properties that they used for their comps. And this is just an overview of that market specifically. So we're not going to go in depth there just yet. Let me actually, all right, T12. Here's my Zoom. There we go. All right, guys. So we got here a very simple T12. All it has is rental income. There's no additional other income, no pet fees or anything like that we see here. Now, when I was just scrolling through the OM, I did see that there was pet fees on there. So I don't know if that's pet fees that are being included in this rental income, or if it's pet fees that the broker's just saying, hey, you could add pet fees. So those are questions that you should ask your broker. You want to find out everything. So I'm going to show you what we do with this information, right? So now you see what I'm talking about, what I'm looking at. You see here's the rental income, that row. Here's total income, but they only have one. It's the rental. Then you have this section of expenses. Okay. Advertising and promotion, insurance, management. What just happened? Sorry. Let me move this thing. I don't even know why that's there. All right, there we go. Got it out of the way. So you got management fees, professional fees, which could be anything. We have no idea what it is. All I see is $111,000 in the month of December. So I would definitely ask what that is. I have no idea what that could be. And I don't see taxes. So my assumption is that this could potentially be taxes here. And sorry, this arrow is in my way. And then repairs and maintenance, utilities. So this is a very, very basic T12 here. There is not a whole lot of information. And honestly, it is very worrisome that there is no taxes on this document. So, here we go. Boom. December 21, professional fees includes payment of property taxes. So I would just assume that this month is taxes and the rest of it we'll put aside for the remaining. So look, here's what we'll do. Let me get a pen. Underwriting on the go, guys. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that total right here, 1114, 765.95, and I'm subtract this month because I'm just going to assume this is all taxes. It may not be, but I'd rather be more conservative than less conservative. Okay, so that leaves us with 3,003. Just writing this down. We're gonna need that information. All right. So now you see what we're working with there. I want to just show you the rent roll really quickly, just so you have a visual when we start talking about it. So this is what they got. Here's the unit numbers. Here's the tenant names, lease start and end dates. You see this one says at will, so there's no more lease that they're tied to. It's more of a month-to-month situation. They're paying monthly, and we already know all the units are the same. This is when the rent started. And here's the rent that they're paying. This is the charges. So this is what they actually paid. So it'll include sometimes some late fees or whatever other fees that they have. This one is not very specific about what is actually being paid. As you can see, this person's rent is $790, but they paid $840 there. Oh, here we go. We got a convenience fee of $50. So they probably paid with a credit card or something like that. And then here, cleaning and maintenance income, and then other income. So you see that they have a little bit of that broken out. And this is a very basic one. There's not a whole lot going on. Oh, we got one last column. What is this? Credits, deposit held. Okay. Yeah, very simple. Let's go to the bottom, see if they have totals for us. Okay, here we go. So they're calculating market rent for us. So we could take that number and divide it by the number of units, and that should give us our pro forma rent as well. So 75,440 divided by 92. So 820. So I'm gonna take that, write that down, because I'm gonna need that later. Oh, 820. Okay. Sorry, I'm writing with a marker. Okay. So this column says rent. This is what they're scheduled to pay rent. This is the rent that's on the lease. And recurring charges is what just happens every month, right? I don't want to take the average of this number just because there could be some that are vacant. Let's see. Boom, there's a vacant unit. So this $0 is being included. So that could skew the actual average rent. Yeah, so there's only one vacancy. So it wouldn't be that much of a difference. Okay. All right, that's good enough there. Let's put this stuff in. I'm gonna close you guys out so I won't be able to see y'all anymore. Give me 1 second. All right. All right. So I'm just going to start with the income. I'm gonna see exactly what they're doing. I know that's all 2 ones. So I'm gonna start there, and it said 92 units of 800 square feet. They said, all right, now I'm looking back at the OM to see what they're saying. I think it was 809 if I remember right. Yeah, 809. Okay. And then we found this number when we were looking at the OM. We said 820. And that is also what they say on the OM. So that checks out. There was no other income. So I'm not going to add any just yet. If I wanted to underwrite aggressively, I could add some additional income on what I know that we can do to the property. Like, for example, those pet fees. If I know that I can charge $15 a pet, I'm gonna throw it in there. I know I can get $15. Probably get more realistically 25, 30. But I'm not familiar with this market just yet. I'm gonna do my due diligence and figure that out. For right now, I'm gonna underwrite conservatively and not put that in there. I'm going to leave this alone for now because I don't want to. I'm gonna leave it as it is first. This is fairly conservative, as we already know. As you saw in the OM, it said vacancy. I mean, an occupancy of 99%. So we're already underwriting less than that. Actually, let me change that current. We'll put that at 5%, just to get a little closer to what they're telling us. So let me go back. So they said their total income, our gross profit is 855,000, whereas ours says 893 minus this. So we're at 803. So this, let me drop this down. I'm just trying to match what they've got in the current section. All right, close enough. We'll do this. There we go. All right, and I'm gonna leave the rest of it the same because I want to be conservative. I don't want to be caught in a bad position later on. So now I'm gonna add the expenses. All right, this is straight from the T12. You're just gonna fill this out directly from the T12, which is what we just went over. Again, this one's very basic. There's not a whole lot of information, so there's gonna be a lot of zeros on here, and we'll show you what we do when that happens. So I'm just gonna, give me a second. I'm just gonna fill this out really quickly. And I'm gonna put the professional fees right here under contract services. And this is their admin and promotion. I think that's, oh, repairs. And then utilities. And I'm gonna just collectively put utilities. All right. So that's that. All right. What I'm gonna do, all I'm gonna do right now is increase these. And I want this, right now we're at 34% expenses. I want this to say 50% or greater on this side. And I'm just going to increase what they already have. I'm not necessarily going to change anything drastically, but I am going to increase it all because they're at 34% expenses right now. That is just not realistic. That tells me that they're self-managing the property. They don't have a management team in place. That also tells me that this management fee that they have here is probably fluff, to be honest. We don't know that. Maybe this is what they're paying their employee, or if they have an employee, or maybe they're just paying themselves this. What, we don't know. Those are questions that we would ask. We figure out what's going on. So, sorry, guys. All right, so I just added 25% to the taxes. I'm gonna do the same here on the insurance. All right. So it just added 25% across the board. The only ones that I really want that for is these. Sorry. Here we go. Is these first four right there. Those are the ones I do 25% just right off the bat. Sometimes it's a little higher than that, especially the insurance. Right now, we're typically seeing this say 800 to $1,000 per unit. So honestly, we should increase this one. So I'm going to do that just to be extra conservative. What you're going to do in your underwriting is you're going to reach out to different insurance providers and get quotes on these properties. And then you'll figure out where you actually need to be at. But for the initial underwriting, you just want to put in your assumptions on what you think it's actually going to be. And if it checks out there, then you move on to the next step where you're actually calling these people. You're going to call the appraiser's office or go to the website and figure out what the tax rates are and what the most recent appraisal is and how taxes assessed for that property. You're going to call, like I said, those insurance providers. You're going to call different property management teams and figure out, how much do they charge for their management fee? And does that include having people on their payroll, or do I also need to hire people on my payroll that you'll manage and be in charge of? So those are questions you need to figure out. The rest of it, you just ask questions. Like I would want to know further questions about this contract services or professional fees. What exactly does that entail? Is that some legal fees like evictions, or is that hiring landscaping or pest control or something like that? Like it was not very specific. Those are questions I would want to know. This repairs and maintenance budget, I think potentially could be lower, especially if we come in and do CapEx on a property. If we come in and repair a bunch of stuff, then I expect this to be much lower. Probably closer to what they're actually paying, or even less than that. So I'm going to leave it as it is right now because I want to see that if we're at 50% expenses, does the property underwrite? Because I'm going to assume no matter what, because I don't have a full thing here, I don't have all of the information. I need to assume the worst case scenario and plan for the worst. One other thing that we want to add here that you should always add to all of your properties is an accounting budget. We always do $6,000. That's a higher grade accounting or accountant that could handle your property. And you're going to definitely want one for sure. We learned that the hard way, that you absolutely want to have somebody on your team to handle that. You don't want to be doing that yourself. I mean, unless you're an accountant and just love doing it. Okay, so now let me go back and adjust this stuff because these are at 25% right now. I don't necessarily want these at 25%, but I do want them to be like 10%. There you go. So that's a little bit more realistic. Again, we're still being a little bit more conservative here. We're not even at 50% expenses. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add an extra line item here just to get it up to 50% and see what that looks like for us on the numbers. And it looks like we got a lot of play here though. So that's good. Wow. There we go. So we got an extra 40,000 to play with. So that can either go to increasing the insurance or the taxes if we need it, or if there's another expense that we're just not thinking of right now, that comes up later. Like maybe we have to hire a security guard for the property. Boom, that's his salary, or at least that's what we budgeted to pay for it. So maybe he only shows up 2 or 3 days out of the week. This one I'm going to change. You know what? No, I'm gonna leave it. I'll leave it there. And that will just add to our numbers as we go along.
Hey, real quick, I just want to answer the question that Carrie had put in the chat about the accounting. She's asking if we could kind of elaborate or expand on it. Yeah, I think Joseph put 6,000 as just like a figure, but it's not set in stone. It definitely varies depending on the deal. Well, we've had the accounting be a lot less than that. and we've had some that are on average, but that's the kind of number that we use just to kind of go off of a baseline. Obviously, we'll refine that for sure. And yes, the accountant does prepare all the tax documents for us. That's what we wanted. We want them for the bookkeeping and all the tax stuff because we don't want to be doing that ourselves. We just get an accountant, get it done. We learned that the hard way, Carrie. That's why we put that on there.
Exactly. Honestly, all of this is placeholders for us in this initial step. Everything that we're doing, it's all assumptions for now. If it looks good, if the property looks good, and like, hey, we're pretty close. Hey, I think we can make this deal work. Then we're going to take the next additional steps to go and concrete these numbers and make sure that they are actual realistic numbers. Especially if it's in a market that we're not familiar with. In Texas, I could throw this together no problem. I'm pretty sure this is in Texas, and I'd be pretty comfortable in the major cities. And the smaller cities, it's a little bit more risk involved, and there's less people to be able to come out and do these jobs. Like we were looking at one property. We'll just call it middle of nowhere, just because I still really want to get that property, but there was not, when we were talking to the property manager, there was not a lot of vendors for her to be able to use. So she was kind of at their mercy of when they can come and do some stuff. And this was simple stuff, like it was pest control, I think she was talking about. But there was only two companies. So it was only able when they were available to come and do it. That's when she had to wait. You know what I mean? So in your smaller markets, you run into things like that. In your larger markets, like your major metros, you're going to have a lot of options to choose from. Okay. And Oscar, if you could keep a watch on the comments, because I don't have them up in front of me. So if you see something, stop me for sure.
Yeah, no, the other question was from Carrie. She's asking, do we have a professional property manager?
Yeah, we go and get one every single time for a new property. We found one that we really like in Houston, and hopefully things go well. Proceeding, they've been going well so far. So I just want to make sure that that relationship is great moving forward. And if things continue to go the way they are, I mean, she'll probably be our property manager on quite a bit of our properties here in Houston. So we're gonna find a new one for every property though, and whether that's a one that we've used in the past, if it's in a similar market, but if it's in a totally different market, we just have to go and find one. We're going to do lots of calls, lots of vetting, sitting down and basically interviewing these people. I mean, you're hiring their services, so you're essentially interviewing them for a position, and that position is property management for you. Yeah, as a GP or general partner of the deal, one of your roles is to manage the manager. Like it sounds kind of silly, but you absolutely need to be on top of making sure that they're doing what they need to do. And I see Carrie said, I can help you with DFW and with managers. Well, great. Carrie always coming through with additional resources. So I love it. I'm super shout out to you and thank you for offering that. Absolutely. We'll definitely take you up on that too. So I just wanted to come down here and show you guys how all of this kind of affects it. So let's just look at this one here, the repairs and maintenance. All right, so this is the line we're looking at. You can see we have it coming up at a 3% increase every year. So you can see how much that affects it going up every single year. So let's look at year 7. What if, for whatever reason, we know that year 7 is going to have something crazy going on. So we want to bump that up to 5%. Oh, to 5%. And it's going to change the rest of them. Let me refresh. Where's my undo? Let's just undo. There you go. There it goes. I don't know if you guys saw that little black calculating line. It just means the formula didn't go through properly and you just redo it. So we're back here. This is what we're looking at. That year 7 jumped up quite a bit. I don't know if you guys saw the change, but here's where we're at now. All right, did I do that in the right year? Yeah, year 7. Year 7, we're at 95,000. Let's go back and adjust that again. You see, this is what I was talking about, the black line. So just refresh it, undo it, and do it again.
And Ione's still working on it, so she's making sure that whenever it is ready for you guys, all this stuff will be ironed out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why it's not released just yet. But you see right here, guys, just that extra 3% changed it 2 grand here. And that's affecting the rest of it. I think this was like 10 something. I won't spend too much time on it, but you guys see how this is super beneficial that you can adjust these accordingly. Or like, let's say you want to just be extra conservative in the first few years, you can change all of this to like 5% in the first few years and then drop it down to 2 or 3 or whatever, you know, fits your underwriting model. So I just wanted to show you guys that there. It was pretty cool. Okay, let's go back to, so just highlight what we covered. We have all the income in there. It's not a whole lot. We have all the expenses in there. Also not a whole lot. Now let's put in the inputs. This is going to be the purchase price, any additional fees that we have to pay, all of our loan metrics, whether this is going to be a seller finance deal or a new debt deal, whatever it is. This is where we're going to change all of that. Okay. Let me pull up the OM again, because that's going to tell us what they're asking. At least it should. Sorry, I'm looking through it right now.
No, you're good. While you do that, I want to touch up on some of the comments that I'm reading here about insurance and everything that is being said. I'm hearing the same thing. I actually went to an event where they were talking about specifically that in the underwriting, and they were saying that some of the underwriters are underwriting their insurance at anywhere from the low end of $500 per unit all the way up to 800. And someone in the panel, the people who were actually there featured, said that they were underwriting at around 800 per unit all the way up to could be up to 1,500 per unit, because depending on the market where you are, the insurance is definitely hiked. So just what I'm seeing in the chat, yeah, same. I agree.
All right, so this one does not give me a purchase price, but here's what I do see. I see an assessed value of 5.5 mil. So let's just start there. So that's what we're going to start off with. So now you see that since we've already added in the units, it changed this price per unit. It's just dividing this by the number of units. Then you have your going in cap rate. This is what we do need to add to, though. We need to figure out how much CapEx do we think that we're going to need to spend on this property. And I did not see anything in the OM as far as expected budget on what the broker is suggesting. Sometimes they do, most of the times they don't. But here's where I am going to start. I'm going to start because I did see some of the interior of these units. We saw them together. They didn't look awful. And knowing that the building is a 2012/2015, we can assume that it's, in relatively good condition. So I would be anywhere between 4,000 and 5,000. I'm just going to start at 5,000 per unit just to get the ball rolling. And again, this is all assumptions for now. We're going to fine tune this as we go further and ask more questions and get closer to a potential offer. So that's just what we're going to start with. EMD, we always just leave that 1%. That's pretty much the industry standard. Acquisition fee, that can change. I've seen it as low as 1%. I've seen it as high as 5%. It really just depends on how much you can squeeze out of the deal. As you get into that higher number, though, you might get more pushback from your investors. Like, hey, why is the acquisition fee so high? Especially this more savvier ones. They're going to want to know, what they're paying for, because this money comes from the raise. You're going to raise this money to pay yourself. So we typically like to start with a 2 or 3. For this one, I'm just going to do 3, just because it is a lower price tag for the property overall. And then here's where we put our broker fee. And specifically, guys, this is the real estate broker. not the loan broker or mortgage broker. Now, if you do have both of them involved, I would add both of them together here. So, like for example, if you know you're going to pay your real estate broker 1% or 0.5%, whatever, and then you know you're going to pay the mortgage broker their 1% fee as well. So let's just assume that's 1% to both. We're going to put 2%. Okay. And we're going to ignore this for now. Closing costs. I do an estimated value. For me, it's typically between 1 and 2% of the closing costs. I'm sorry, 1 to 2% of the purchase price. Since this one is a little bit lower value, I'm gonna go for that higher number just because I want to have more cushion. Again, it's always better to be more conservative than less conservative. So I'm actually gonna put 2.5%. Oh, sorry. Put 2.5% here. So let me get that to, it's gonna be like 115. Pretty close. 130. Good enough. We'll rock with that. All right, escrow held funds. There was some requests to have this automated. Ultimately, we decided not to do it automated just because the
Wait,
fact
wait,
that
wait, wait. Well, maybe we will, maybe we won't.
okay. It's up in the air for now. It's
Yeah.
up in the air for now.
No, we're
Right
listening to you guys for
now.
sure. So we're finding a way where everybody can have a median ground.
There we go. There we go. Okay, right now it's not because we elected that we do so many custom deals where there's a lot of seller finance involved that we didn't necessarily want it to automatically add something. But as you just heard, this is still a work in progress. We're still putting things together, and those updates will be coming soon. So let's skip this for now. We will come back here. Let's put in some debt. Oscar, throw out a suggestion on how we're going to do this. Should we do this new debt? Should we do this straight up seller finance? Should we do this? I mean, because I didn't see anything about there being existing debt currently. I mean, let me take a look here. I mean, one last glaze over and do control find just to make sure I'm not missing anything.
I think just for the example's sake, and so we can get to the Q&A sooner, let's just assume some numbers here real quick.
All right, let's do new debt. So we're gonna put this here. The reason that this column or section is here is so you can be specific about it. That way, when you go back, let's say you're 2 or 3 months into the future now, you underwrote this deal already. What the hell was I doing? I don't understand what any of this is. I don't remember. I've looked at 100 deals since then. This will help. It will help. So let's say that we're going to throw in some assumptions. We'll say this is the price they're asking. We're going to throw in some assumptions based on what I've seen in the current debt market. So I'm seeing anywhere from 60, 65% on average. There are some that are higher than that, to 70 to 80, just depends. But this is what I'm seeing most of. And around that 6 to 6.5% of the interest rate. Some are at 7, just depending on where you're getting that information from. Most loans, pretty much every loan, allows for an interest only period. You just need to ask for it. They won't just give you that right away. So you definitely ask for that. We are absolutely going to ask for it. And we're going to assume that we'll be able to get at least 2 years worth. Here's the loan origination fee. We're not going to have any CapEx finance. This is not a bridge loan. We don't want any bridge loans. And we're going to assume it's a long-term 10-year fixed. We'll leave this alone for now, just so we can get the ball rolling. And we won't touch the second or third loan metrics. So I want to come down to here real quick where it says the senior loan interest rate. And it actually shows all that you can adjust. Like if you have a variable interest rate, you can actually adjust all of this here. Now, we don't want to do that because we have a fixed rate.
Wait. What did you just say?
If you're underwriting with variable debt or you're getting creative with your seller financing and they want an increasing interest rate or whatever the situation is, this analyzer gives you the opportunity or option to actually change the interest rate as it goes along.
What? You mean I can change my interest rates?
Yeah,
That's
it's pretty
crazy.
cool. That's pretty cool. Honestly, I have not seen an analyzer do this yet. It is pretty cool though.
So guys,
I
just think about that, because if you guys, I know a lot of you guys already know, but if you're super creative, right, you can structure a deal. Well, let's say it's straight up seller finance where you have no payments. So you do no payments for a year, then you start your payments after a year. But let's say it's principal only because you still need to stabilize it. And then let's say like in year three, you finally say, okay, Mr. Seller, I'll start paying you your interest at year three. So you can get super technical, super creative with this analyzer, guys. I don't see that with anything else. You would have to go in there and do it manually, and you're getting that option right there. That's super amazing, bro.
So what you just said, bro, is that hang on, let me adjust this to 0. All right, you see how it changed everything there? So let's just say that the first few years is we'll change it to 1% actually. Let's say we'll give them a 1% interest only payments for the first 3 years. But then after that, we're going to actually change that to 3%. And that would be beneficial for the seller and encouraging us to sell the property off faster. And let me just refix that real quick.
It also could be
All
because of,
right,
oh, there it goes. Yeah, yeah.
there we go. And then let's say we'll say every 3 years it goes up again by an extra 3%. That sounds awful, right? Who would want to do that? But it's a good selling point to the seller. It's a negotiation tactic that we could use to pitch this to the seller. It's like, yeah, you're only getting 1% in the beginning, but look, it's going to keep increasing as it keeps going on. But we know that we're going to sell at year 5 or maybe even year 3. So we don't have to worry about this interest raise. You know what I mean? So we're structuring it in a way that it sounds really good for the seller, but we're also being like super conservative with our underwriting, and we're making it to where we know that we can still exit because we're still underwriting everything conservatively, everything, no matter what. And this is just gives us more flexibility to do different things. And it's really cool.
Bro, that just blew my mind.
Yeah. Like I literally just came up with this idea right now.
Yeah,
Like I'm
exactly.
probably going to implement that on some of the deals that we've been negotiating, to be honest.
Yeah, this is how you start negotiating, guys. Like, look how creative you can get. I mean, this is amazing. Anyway, go ahead, bro. Go with scratch that and let's go back to our example.
Yeah, man. This is right now. This is not affecting us because there's nothing here. The amount is 0, so it's not going to affect it. If I change this to a dollar amount, then this will now affect us. So just for clarity's sake, guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and throw in some refinance metrics just to be safe. We may not even need to refinance. This might just be a quick turnaround and sell it in 3 or 5 years, whatever it is. So I'm going to start at a higher cap rate because I'm expecting cap rates to get worse, right? The market right now is getting worse. It's not getting better. I believe that it will get better, but for underwriting's sake, I'm going to be conservative and expect that it's going to get worse before it gets better. So we're going in right now at a 7.08. So I want to assume that it's going to be higher than that for sure, at least 50 basis points. If you want to be even more conservative, go up 100 basis points. That would be at 8%. I don't like doing 70% loan to value on the refinance. It is absolutely an option. That's my personal preference. I just like doing it at 65. Oh, wrong one. At 65, just because I'd rather be good with my underwriting, taking out less of a loan, but still have the option to pull out more if I want to, if it makes it better. And we're going to same concept with the cap rate. We're going to increase this as well. If we're at a 6.5 now, I'm going to assume that we're going to be at a 7.5 later. Again, probably is going to get better, but we don't know that. And then boom, another nifty little thing here. We can now add an interest only on the refinance. Again, every loan allows for an interest only. You just need to ask for it. We're going to change this to the same thing, 2 years, and leave that alone. All right, we're going to leave that stuff alone for now and just kind of see what we've got going on. Oh, we need to do this first. So escrow held funds. Let me go to expenses and get insurance. We're going to need insurance and 3 months of debt service. So we'll call it 40K. plus, where's my debt service? Private debt service. So we'll call it 100K. That's how much we need. There. Perfect. All righty. Something's not showing up. Oh, we need to exit. There we go. Okay, so let's take off the refinance for now. And let's just go for, oh, did I miss one? Yes, I did miss one. Whoops. Sorry, guys. Here's the cap rate. We're going to do the same thing. And the closing costs, I'm going to estimate anywhere between 3 and 4%. So I'll just go right in the middle, 3.5%. Actually, let me bump that up a little bit. Okay. This is where I like to start at 70-30. I prefer not to do any preferred return. I have no problem doing it if we need to, but I prefer to just keep it simple, leave the pref out of it. And then I just leave that at 2, unless we can go higher than that. All righty.
Oh, wait, go back real quick. Go back to the last section right there. The asset management fee deferred. That's another one. I don't know if you touched up on that or not.
No, I didn't go over it just yet. But we'll show you what that will do. So if you look right here, this row, 69, asset management fee. So this is the annual view. It's showing us for the year. This is year 1, year 2, year 3, so on. So let's say this cash on cash is just not very strong in that first year. And honestly, it's not. But let's say that if we got rid of this, if we did not pay ourselves for that first year, or maybe even the first 2 years, would it still look good? Would it look even better? Would it get us to the point where this is now a deal? You now have that opportunity to do that. All right, so let me show you how that affects it real quick. So we're at a 2.84%. Let's just say I do that first year, we're not taking any asset management fee. We were at a 2.84%. That just went up like 33.33%. That could be a game changer for a lot of deals. Not necessarily this deal, because it's not great along the way, but that could be a game changer in a lot of deals. Like that's pretty crazy. And we deferred it. And you can set that aside where you're accruing it later as well, but we have it as just deferred right now, where it's not being accrued. We're not taking
it. It is accrued.
This.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I was just given the analyzer yesterday. So I'm working with what I got, but this
accrued. So in other words, you will get that on the back end.
Yes, yeah. So basically, this is setting it. If it's accrued, for those of y'all who don't know, this gets put aside, right? It's gonna stack up for however long you have it, and then when you sell the property, this will be kind of like a little piggy bank you have stored up. All right, let's take that off. And okay. All right, let's go figure out how we can make this reasonable, which the numbers are not very strong right now. So here's the member cash flow. I'm seeing a negative. So we actually lose money on the sale. So with this cap rate, this is too high. If we sold at this cap rate, we would not make any money at this. We would actually be negative $370. I'm sorry, $370,000. That would suck. I would not want to sell the property and be negative. But overall, we would make $293,000. So it's a win for us, right? No, I'm just kidding, guys. You take care of your investors first. This is not a deal in its current condition. So what do we need to do to make this a deal? Well, we could refinance, but this is a sell at year 10. So there really isn't a lot of options for us to do it at this purchase price. So what we need to do is actually lower this purchase price. That one is not going to be realistic for us with the current scenario, this scenario of getting new debt. And if we can get quotes and get interest rates lower, like let's say the interest rate is actually 6%, we get a quote back at 6%. What does that do? Well, it didn't do much for here, but it did help the returns, because remember, this was 2.84%. This was 2 something, and there's no deferment right now. So just that interest rate going down 0.5% raised this up. So it's helping our cash flow. It's helping the available cash flow. But the sell is not quite there because this cap rate is high. And we're underwriting very conservatively, right? So like what cap rate do we need to be at for this to work out? And let's see if it's even realistic. So let's say we're able to sell at a 7 cap rate, which right now is a little high, like in the current market. Like in Houston, 6.5 is about average right now. Okay, so look, we're positive, but this is not $1 million deal. We're positive now. Now we're gonna make out, but it's not a deal that I would want to do personally. And I don't think any of your investors would want to see these returns. I mean, this is not very strong, especially for this Class B asset. Like it's new, but I wouldn't call it a Class A. It looks like a Class B, probably a C plus if we're being realistic, just by how it looks. So we need to fix this, right? We need to get this better. This is not a deal right now. So let's go back to our original assumptions and let's figure out where we need to be at to make this deal work. So let's drop this down by $500,000. I mean, by $1 million. Okay, so that's all we changed was this purchase price. That's all we changed so far. So let's come back up to here. Remember, we were negative 370. Now we're actually positive here. So let's look at this a different way. What if on the refinance, we could actually get the same interest rate that we currently have? What does that look like for us? Will that help us? Let's say we refinance in 5 years. So I think it actually made it a little worse for us on the back end here. But we did return some of the investor capital and it raised it up a little bit. Honestly, guys, this deal is just not a deal, to be straightforward with you guys. Like, we're not anywhere close to where we would need to be. So we could play with this all day and beat the numbers up as much as we want. But with all of the conservations that we have in this underwriting, the numbers are just not strong enough to really be interested in this deal. I mean, for us, it's not there we go, now it's $1 million deal. But for us, none of those metrics were really hitting it very well. Here's something that we're getting close to, though. If you see, the average cash on cash is now at 8%, which is what we would be looking for on something like this. We want to see that like 6-7% range or higher, ideally. So it gets better, right? It gets a lot better. So, and that's at 3.5 mil. So now let's look at this a different way. Let's just say this is the terms that we're getting. They're not going to give us anything else. We can't adjust it any further, which we definitely can. And it's up to you what cap rate you want to write at your exit, what cap rate you want to write at your refinance. It's totally up to you. If you wanted to put a 1%, you could do that, but it's not realistic that you would be able to do that. So do what you want to on your underwriting. Talk to who you trust. Talk to the people that are doing it in your market. Figure out what that specific market is doing and expecting. That's what you should base your underwriting off of. Now, let me add this in here. What if we wanted to add some seller finance component? And if you see, there's a down payment of 1.4. What if I want the seller to hold 1 million of that down payment, and we'll give him an interest rate of 3 and leave it interest only, and we'll pay him off on the refinance, which I think we have in 5 years. Perfect. So we'll just leave the rest of that alone. Let's see what that does now for us. Are we good? Are we positive? Okay, we're still okay. We're still okay there. All right, there's the repayment of the seller financing. Here's the proceeds from the refinance, and here's how much capital they have. So this minus the proceeds is what's going to be remaining at the 943. All right, now the proceeds look a lot better at that year 10 mark, and the returns for the investors are looking good. Oh yeah, Now we potentially have something here because look at this. Equity multiple is a 2.44. Ideally, I want to see this at the 3 mark or pretty close to it if I'm holding it for 10 years. If this was at 5, I would do this all day.
That's a deal all day.
All day. Yeah. If
Yeah.
this was a 5-year hold and the numbers were like this, I would do this deal all day. Absolutely. But the thing that we have to think about is that this is now a 10-year hold and these are the returns, which they're good returns. But can we get enough people, which I think we could. Honestly, I think we could make this deal work. Just because this is not a big raise. We could probably get that with like 10, 15 people easy. And the returns are very strong with the cash on cash. So I would put this in as an offer. Granted, he would probably tell us to shove off because we're pretty low. So let's see how much more we can come up with the seller financing component added on there. So let's move this back up to 4. All right, we're leaving that alone. We'll keep him at the same terms and just see if that changes it a lot. I'm okay with these. We're not deficient in anything. We're good. Okay, let's go back here. It's not as great just because it's not even at the 2 mark. What that means, so here's what they put in. Here's what they would get back. So they're getting 1.97 times their money. That's what that means. And this is just the breakdown of what that looks like. It's no longer a $1 million deal for us. So that's unfortunate. We wouldn't do it just because of that. And this is really tight. Now, I do think that you could get that, no problem. I think that this actually could be closer to a 7. And honestly, this is where I would struggle right here. Like, let's forget the refinance completely. Let's see what it would take if we just wanted to sell at 5. What do we need to do? Honestly, I think this just needs to go lower. Back again. So this will be the last scenario that we run, just because I don't want to keep you guys here. We've done so many underwriting videos in the past. Like, there's so many things out there that we've put out. And the best way to learn this is to go get a deal, and then we'll help you underwrite the deal. That would be the best way to learn this, because this is just a scenario. You know what I mean? We're so close on this. Honestly, guys, we're so close. Like, I really want to get this to a 2, and I would consider doing the deal. Not myself. I would pass this one off because it's a deal for somebody, but it's not $1 million deal for us. You know what I mean? So let's see. Let's adjust this a little bit. And we can adjust this capital transaction fee. Let's put this back at 7 and see what that does. Okay, that got a little better. All right. This potentially is something that I would do, minus this part. But that's reasonable returns for an investor to invest in. I think that you could raise the money to get somebody to do this. This is not, like I said, not a lot of big raise. It's 1.4. This is definitely possible. The only concern I would have is how confident are you in this exit cap rate, right? Because what I would do now, this is what I would do. If this is the one you want to go with, I would start stress testing this. Where is the breaking point? If I wanted to sell and just break even, how soon could I do that? Or how long do I have to hold it before I can do that? Those are things you want to start asking yourself and start, hey, this is the model I feel most comfortable. I like this model. Now I need to start testing the boundaries. What's going to break this model? What do I need to be looking out for? Like, for example, there's no refinance in this at all. Let's say I was going to refinance it. I would start playing with the interest rates. Okay. How high of an interest rate is the cap? At what point is it no longer a deal anymore with that interest rate? Or the same thing with the loan to value. At what point is too much of a loan to pull out, or not enough of a loan to pull out on the refinance to pay people back. Same with the cap rate. What is the worst cap rate that I can still move forward with the deal at? And what does it look like if I get a really good cap rate? Like, let's say the market totally turns around and now it wouldn't happen, but let's say that Class C's are selling at 5 cap now, like totally unheard of right now, but that would be crazy. What would that look like? And, that's just kind of getting your hopes up a little bit, but you want to see these things. You want to stress test it, and not just on these, but everything. You want to play with every little thing. You want to, like, let's say this is the model I want to move forward with. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to start breaking the analyzer. I'm going to start doing everything I can to figure out what's going to kill the deal. Maybe I can come up a little bit more on my CapEx, or maybe I don't need that 5K. Maybe I can come down to 4K. How much better are my numbers going to look, and what else can I do differently? So, Oscar, is there anything else you want me to cover specifically,
No,
or
no, I think we're good. I think you did a
okay?
good job, guys. Guys, give some fires in the chat for Joseph. He literally went through a whole underwriting session with you guys, even though we didn't plan on it.
Yeah, yeah. I just felt like that was like the best way to show you what actually happens in underwriting. Like, everybody does it differently. There's no one right or wrong way, or no one formula that it has to be done this way. Everybody has their own different model and feels comfortable buying at different cap rates or different purchase price, whatever it is, right? I just wanted to show you what that process might look like for somebody, and on this beautiful tool that Ione made too.
Yeah. Guys, show some love to Ione too. She put hours and hours and hours of work to this. And she's hearing your guys' feedback. She's implementing it. She's making sure that you guys have everything that you need. So please, guys, let her show her some love. She's been working on this for you guys for a long time. Aside from that, Joseph, if you want to get into the Q&A, I'm ready.
Yeah, I do. I'm scrolling through the comments and I see a fire one from Carrie. Super, super good point. Actually, two of them. She said, but you need more CapEx when you hold for 10 years. Things go wrong and you need a capital infusion. Absolutely. So that's a great point. You brought that up. So there's two options that we have to kind of cover for that or plan for that. There's one right here. You just raise that. You raise it up front, get it ahead of time. You know you're going to need it in the future. Like, let's say you're going to need a roof in 7 years, but you're going to hold it for 10. Get that money up front, put it aside. That's one way you can plan for that, is by increasing your CapEx budget and just knowing that some of that money is delegated for something later on. Another thing that you can do, which is in the expenses, there we go, is this section right here, which I didn't really cover, but it's the deposit to the replacement reserve. So some analyzers have this in the expense section. Some of them don't have it in the expense section. We have ours outside of it because it's not technically an expense, but we are putting aside money every month to get this total each year, and we can adjust that accordingly. This is where you would do that. But let's show you where that goes. So this is the order of how things come out, right? Here's the income. Income comes in, expenses come out first, then you have your NOI, okay? Now, after you have your NOI, you have this, the deposit to the capital reserve. So this is you taking the money out. It's not affecting your NOI, but you are taking that money out. You're not keeping that as cash flow. You're setting this aside in a separate bank account for exactly that, future CapEx issues down the road, or whatever you think you're going to need money for down the road. Then you have your cash flow for debt service, and then your debt service, and so on and so forth. Then you have your cash flow. So that was a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Carrie, because that is one very important thing you do want to keep in mind is, especially over a lengthy hold, you want to prepare yourself, whether that's preparing it each month or each year as your income comes in, or preparing it all up front because you know you're going to have something big coming soon. So that was one question you said. And then you also brought up another point saying, I wonder if they're taking vouchers. I have a strange suspicion. Maybe hard to raise rental rates. Yes, I don't know the answer whether they're doing that or not, but that is a good thing that I'm glad you brought up for people to know that you should ask. We just had a call actually right before this Zoom where it was me, Oscar, our broker, and then the seller's broker as well. And that was one of the questions that Ione wanted us to ask is there any housing assistance on the property? And that could be a vast many things, but you're saying voucher, like a government voucher for basically part of the rent to be paid or things like that. Those are questions you want to know and understand when you're looking at the property. So good point. Really good point. Did I lose you guys? We
No,
got
you're
quiet.
good. You're good.
Okay, okay. I was like, oh man,
We're
Oscar
just
left.
we're absorbing everything that you're talking about.
Okay, okay, good. I thought I lost you for a second, but I'm good, good, good.
Hmm.
Yeah, and she said correct. They limit how much they will pay for rent, and tenants often don't have the money to pay the overage. Exactly. That's why we stay away from government assisted properties. We're not opposed to having some of the units government assisted, but we don't want properties that are like Section 8 all the way or Lura properties or whatever it is. That's the reason that we don't want to do that. It's not saying like that's a bad model. It's just not our model. It's not what we're looking to do.
All right,
Sweet.
bro.
Let me get this off so I can see y'all's faces. All
Again,
right.
guys, please give it up for Joseph. He did such an amazing job just now underwriting and showcasing what Ione has been working on. And again, he had just got this yesterday, guys. Like Ione just kind of surprised him and told him, "Hey, let's get on a Zoom tomorrow, and I'm going to tell you everything." And he was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So,
That was it. That was it. But sometimes you just gotta be on a pivot. Like right now, I just had this delicious ass meal delivered to me, and I'm just excited. Shout
shout out to KJ, guys. Show
out
her
to
some love
KJ.
too. Um, so while you do that, I'm going to bring up the the PowerPoint. Guys, before we get into Q&A, don't forget to follow us on Instagram. All of our handles are here in front of your screen. Give us a follow and shout us out too. If you got value from this, shout us out on Instagram, tag us, and let us know that you guys got some value. Also follow us on or join our Facebook group if you haven't joined already. It's Multifamily, the $1 Million Upside. And also post in there. That'd be awesome. VIPs, guys, we got some VIPs in the room. Lars, Christy, Max, Steven. And if there's anybody else in there, just let us know in the chat. It's the people I can see on my screen right now. All of them are VIPs. VIPs, we will be meeting on Monday to go over a proper tutorial on version 2.0, and you guys will have access to this going forward. So fires in the chat for you guys. So amazing. If you're interested in becoming a VIP, talk to Joseph. He will definitely help you out and how you can get into that VIP program. Q&As. I'm ready for you guys. If you guys have any questions, raise your hands. We'll bring you on stage. And if you have any comments, we'll bring you on stage.
Yeah. And I saw one more thing from Carrie, man. Carrie, you're bringing the heat. I'm so glad you showed up. You're dropping some gems that I just didn't cover, but they're absolutely true. So she said, in regards to the equity splits between the general partners and the LPs, she said 70-30 is a pretty rich split. Maybe try 75-25. I know many people won't invest passively with newer syndicators without a track record unless it's 80-20. Their thought is that it's riskier to go with people who don't have full cycle under their belt and they need to be rewarded more. Just FYI, not saying one way is right or wrong. That is absolutely true. I just said that I start with 70-30, and I said I start with. That's not usually where we end up. When we first started, we were underwriting at like a 60-40, and we were the 60. So, just to like paint that picture, we had no idea what we were doing in the beginning. So yeah, that is absolutely true. 70-30 is still typically a little bit too rich, as she put it. Most people want to see that 80-20, especially if it's on like the nicer assets like the A or B. When you're in the class C's, there's a little bit more leniency that you can do a 70-30 or a little bit higher than that, just because there's more risk on the manager side too. There's more involvement on the CapEx and things being done. So absolutely what she said is 100% true. Don't expect to just get 70-30 right away. It's not, it probably won't happen unless you're partnered up with somebody that is more experienced than you and they have a track record.
Exactly.
Okay. That was it. That was all I saw as far as additional comments as I was scrolling through here. Uh, oh, here's another one. Do we have questions right now? I can't see the. Let me see. Okay, I'll just keep going on things I see. Andrea said, "How far apart would you go with an asking price before you'd say is too much over where you want to be and move on?" So Lars knows we just did one deal. They were asking 82 mil for two properties. And our offer came back. I think we were at like 61. So we were 21 mil off. And they basically said, yeah, you should look at the numbers again and see how much higher you can come up. And so, like, yeah, we could, but realistically, that probably isn't going to happen. You know, the numbers are what they are just because of what's going on in the market or other factors. So it's really up to you, Andrea, as far as how much you play with the analyzer and how much you spend your time digging into this to figure out what you're going to offer, right? Like for me, if I get past the 50% mark, then I'm just going to verbally tell them, hey, we're less than 50% of what you're asking for. Like I could put in an offer, but I don't want to offend you guys. You know, I respect you. I want to make sure that we keep the relationship good. And I just don't think this property is the one for me. That's what I would say. If I'm less than 50% of what they're asking for, unless it's like a smaller deal. If it's like a 4 million purchase price and I'm coming back at a 2 million, then I might shoot that shot. But if it like in Lars's case, 82 and I'm at 41 or something, then yeah, I'm so far off. Like there's no point even wasting anybody's time on that. So use your best judgment is the answer. There is no right or wrong answer. It's the same with all of this. There's so many factors and there's different business models and different buying capacities. So you could really do whatever you want to do, honestly, and just present that offer.
You know what? Us starting off new, we would probably still submit that 40
Yeah.
something. But that's
Yeah.
because we didn't know, right? We were just submitting LOIs like crazy. But yeah, no, you're completely right. Just depends.
Yeah, we would have definitely submitted that 41 mil. Yeah, they would have just told us like no, like what are you doing? Like we're just not going to answer your emails anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's the balancing act. How much do I really want the property and how much, do I want to kind of save this relationship? And if you have a really good relationship, then just tell them, just be honest with where your offer is and what you're seeing on your numbers. I mean, that's what works for me is I just pull up the spreadsheet and it's like, look, this is what we're seeing. Like this is how we're underwriting it. And this is what our offer is based on these assumptions.
Mm-hmm. And I will throw this out there, kind of on topic, but off topic, because I think when we were first starting off, some of the brokers were trying to vet us too, right? Naturally, that they were trying to vet us, and we were new, so we had no experience. And so, starting off, we struggled with brokers asking us for like proof of funds or a track record or properties that we've closed on, and we really didn't have anything to show for it, right? So we would struggle on that obstacle. Fast forward to today's call, Joseph had mentioned we had a call right before this Zoom with a broker, and one of the things that we like to do now, because we've learned so much doing what we've been doing, is we like to establish a credibility up front before that question gets brought up. And so one of the things that we do is we tell them about who we are, what we've done, the track record that we have, and the things that we're working on and everything and our goals. And here's the thing that I took from that conversation, amongst other things, is the broker said, oh, that's awesome. We were going to require you guys to submit a resume or your track record, but because of this call, you've already answered all my questions, so we won't require that anymore. So it's important for you guys to make sure that when you establish those relationships with those brokers or the seller or whoever, is even if you don't have a track record, just be transparent or leverage someone that you can, with their permission, of course, that you can leverage their track record to get your foot in the door, because that's something that right then and there I covered all those objections, and he didn't ask anything. No proof of funds. He looked at our LOI and he said, look, your LOI looks like you guys know what you're doing, and so I'm not
Yeah.
going to ask you anything else.
And I was just like, wow, we came from nothing to like, all we have to do is send an LOI, and they're like, man, these guys, they know what they're doing.
And the LOI had assumption, and it had a seller finance component to it. It was creative, and he
Mhm.
didn't question it. He goes, you guys know what you're doing. It looks like you know what you're doing. That's it.
And he asked us too in that call. He said, how long have you guys been doing this? And I was like, well, only, if you believe it or not, only 9 months, man. He's like, wow, oh, okay. And he starts telling us about, all this stuff and regarding loan assumptions, how if you don't have a lot of experience, you're going to need key principles. And I was like, absolutely, 100% right. We're currently doing a loan assumption right now, and we do have a wide selection or options of different key principles we can bring on. He's like, oh, wow, wow, man, you guys already know. Great stuff. So it was a cool call just to get that feedback, that we're doing something right. I mean, we don't get that reassurance every day, so it's pretty cool to get that.
And the
Just
best part is we recorded that entire call, guys. So we will release it in the future so you guys can listen to it.
Yeah, it was a good one too, and I think we absolutely can release that. I don't think we talked about any specifics of anything, so I think that we could release that pretty soon, actually.
Yeah.
Guys, does no one have any questions? Did I just do that good of a job? You guys are all professional underwriters now. I know I do have some professionals in here, so I'm not too worried about you guys, because I know some are going to show up on Monday asking me a whole bunch of questions. Like, hey, I played with it. I did this, and this, and now I'm thinking this. So I know they're coming. I know they're coming. Oh, yeah. See, look, Chrissy said your questions are coming on Monday. Yep. I already knew it. Between her and Max, man, I've learned stuff every day, or I get put on the spots where I have to like keep myself top of my game. So I love it, guys. I appreciate all of y'all, everybody in here. We really do.
Yeah. Same here, guys. I guess that's